Hiya, good morning, guys. Welcome to my Compound Life. I am Jonathan. This is a channel where we build assets. We build great habits to manage all of our assets. And of course, we build freedom that should really be financial freedom, time freedom for you, me, and anyone else that watches my video. Good to see you all at the time of recording. Today is the 18th of January 2026, and this is another Bitcoin daily video. Okay, so thumbs up, hit the like if you haven't already done so, and do subscribe. I'm a small content creator, so any likes or subscribe will definitely help me to grow my channel a lot more quicker and helping a lot more people that loves Bitcoin to find my content too. Okay, so let me know in the comment section who you guys are, where you're from, any feedback, drop that. Okay, so let's start with price action right now for Bitcoin. So Bitcoin price right now is about $95,118. Okay, so Bitcoin has been trading around $95,000 to $95,200 in the past 24 hours. It went down a small 0.2 to between 0.1 to 0.2%, starting from about 95,400, hitting a high near 95,600 and a low around 94,800. We are, however, still about 24% away from the previous all-time high. That was around 126,000 back in October last year. So Bitcoin has been in a consolidation phase, as you can see lately, with price action showing lower volatility, of course, compared to the sharp move we saw at the end of last year, right? So, we also had a very, very quick increase, and then now, everything's consolidating back. From what I can see from the price movement, price made a lower low intraday. Okay, maybe you might think, oh no, that's not good. It's getting more bearish. If we look at the one-day chart, right? You might think, oh no, it's not good. It's all red. It's bearish, but it's not yet. Okay, so. But of course, the Bitcoin price did not decisively close below some of the major support, right? And of course, looking at RSI, major support, RSI still 55 to 60, so not breakdown territory. And of course, if we look at that MACD, it's still positive momentum. Obviously, it's cooling off, but it doesn't show immediate reversal yet. So this look more like a consolidation phase as opposed to a push towards a bearish reversal yet. Okay, but of course, I need to manage everyone's expectation here. We need to be prepared that what might come might be bearish. So what would flip this whole chart to a bearish scenario? Okay, so what we'll probably need to watch out for would be a few things. Number one would be the daily close below the 94,000. So this is like 94,200 to about 95,000 support, right? So if the daily close below at least this 94,300, right? And then followed by the RSI losing 50, and of course the MACD histogram flipping negative, and then next candle following to reclaim the range. If all of this happen, short term wise, it will be bearish with deeper pullback, right? So that's something to look out for this week. essentially, right? But of course, we need to also factor in a few things potentially this week that could cause this to happen. So something like the tariffs, which I'll cover in the news. There will be other elements like, will there potentially be a government shutdown again towards end of month in January? And of course, I think something that everyone's looking forward to, will there be a rate cut coming in end of Jan? Okay, so all of this could be a factor that could cause a bit of market volatility. And you know what? Let's look at some of this indicator, like what I've mentioned: daily close below the key support, RSI losing 50, and MACD histogram flipping negative. So some of this will showcase whether we are indeed, re-entering or gaining some bearish momentum. Okay, so quick look at the fear and greed index. Today we are at 50 at the neutral zone, which is good, I guess, because compared to yesterday we were at 49. So far for the week, we are mainly in the neutral territory with 1 day of greed, so that's good. I think at least we are trying to get ourselves out from the fear zone. Okay, but you never know what's coming, because any macro will move the Bitcoin price very, very fast. So yes, I think so far we are more in the neutral, which means good, but at the same time, bear in mind, news that are coming can potentially flip this into a more bearish kind of momentum. No ETF data for over the weekend. We'll cover that maybe on Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday next week. But let's quickly look at some of the news section that can potentially move Bitcoin price. So looking at the Market Watch data for next week, a few things to bear in mind. This one. Okay, so US unemployment claims and GDP data upcoming this week. Can any of this signal a rate cut? Okay, so I'm not saying that it will signal a rate cut, but can any of such signal a rate cut? So background, upcoming on Thursday, January the 22nd, we will have our initial job loss claims. For January 17th, forecast was around 208,000 versus previous 198,000. So we'll see where it all leads to. And of course, GDP first revision for Q3 forecast is at 4.3%, same as previous. So these are key indicators of US economy health. Jobless claims show labor market strength, and GDP measures overall growth in the US. So if the data comes weaker than expected, it could pressure the Fed to cut rates faster, as they've been holding steady amid of inflation concerns. And why it matters, I think this week specifically, weak data often lead to expectation for easier money policy, which boosts risk asset, not just on Bitcoin, but crypto, Mag 7, and so forth. We've seen Bitcoin pump on past soft data releases, so maybe depends on the data, could give Bitcoin some initial boost, right? But having said that, it could also have the other way around too for the Bitcoin price. So we'll see. I think short-term wise, I'm hoping it will be bullish if data is weak, and rate cut odds will be rising if that's the case, lifting Bitcoin price. But of course, longer term, it's also bullish because looser policy, supports higher valuation. Okay. And I think one thing worthwhile to also cover is the US inflation is currently down, and hoping that with such data, potentially it can lead on to the late January rate cut. Okay, so this is Trueflation. This is a real-time US inflation data. It's currently seated at about 1.58%, far below of the official data that Fed looks at. That's currently at 2.7%. So background, if you guys do not know Trueflation, US inflation has two main measures, okay? One of it is obviously the official BLS CPI. It's always delayed, show last month's data at 2.7%. And Trueflation, which is a real-time tracking from current prices like online shopping, it's currently showing that, it's at 1.57%. So this gap means inflation is already under Fed's 2% target in reality. Okay, so why does this matter, right? Because Fed is using old data to fight high inflation, but real time shows the inflation is currently being controlled. This could force quicker and easing like rate cuts and liquidity boost in 2026. So I'm hoping that the market looks forward. It's forward looking, so policy shifts may come sooner. So this kind of explains why President Trump is pushing for faster rate cut as rate stays high amid of slowdown, right? So yeah, I think hoping for, after the FOMC meeting end of Jan, we might be able to see some sort of rate cut. And how it matters for Bitcoin, well, short term it's bullish because market, I think it's definitely forward looking. There will be some sort of adjustment into the Bitcoin price pretty soon, right? Based on this kind of figure. But of course, it all certainly depends on whether a rate cut will definitely come in towards end of Jan during the FOMC meeting. In terms of long-term wise, I think it's also bullish because easing helps inject money back into the system. And historically, it will always lead to the lifting, historically lifting BTC as a hedge and hopefully leading on to a dead cat bounce for Bitcoin price or a new high. We'll see, right? But I'm not personally expecting a new high, but it will always be nice if we can get another new high, but we shall see. Another news that can potentially affect the Bitcoin price, affect sell off on a Monday when the US market open. We'll see. Or even sell off in any stocks and shares globally, I think, especially in the Europe, right? It's this news. Trump escalates tariffs on Europe over Greenland dispute. Okay, so a bit of a background for all of you guys. President Trump has announced new tariffs on 8 European countries, including Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, us in the UK, the Netherlands, and Finland. Okay, so this is to pressure them into supporting the US purchase of Greenland, which Trump sees as an important for national security, as well as access to valuable minerals. So the tariff starts at 10% on all goods coming into the US from February the 1st, right? Which is pain in the ass. because it's gonna cause a lot of knee-jerk reaction, especially in the UK stock market as well as the Europe. Okay, so this comes after ongoing talks where these countries have opposed the idea, and it's part of Trump's bigger plan to use tariffs as a tool in foreign policy. So, of course, this move is reopening old wounds from past trade wars, making markets nervous about supply chain and global trade. Okay, so not good, not good. So it's a little bit like the tariff situation back in February, but that was pretty much global, right? Including China. Remember that, like China tariffs was around 100%, 125%, which kind of gives a lot of good buy the dip opportunity by the way, guys. So as long as you kind of in Bitcoin for the longer term, I think another buy the dip opportunity might be open up, because obviously this tariffs is only seems to be for the Europe. I don't anticipate things to dip that wildly like the last tariffs back in February, I think March, April last year. But I also anticipate there might be some sell-off coming in, well, at least in Europe, in the UK. So we shall see. We shall see how it goes on Monday market open. We shall see how it goes in Asia, leading into Europe and leading into the US. So tariffs like this can slow down world trade, raise prices for goods, and create uncertainty in the economy for sure, right? So we've seen before how trade wars leads to stock market drops, and treat this as buy the dip signals, right? Like how I always say, hey, you guys, you need to have a hodl back of Bitcoin as well as a swing back for Bitcoin. So this could well be a swing back dip buying opportunity, or for a hodl back dip buying opportunity. So yeah, always have plenty of cash on the sideline just so that you can, capitalize on this and buy the dip. And of course, at announcement, January the 17th on Truth Social. So Trump posted this on Truth Social, which is kind of like an X platform for Trump, by the way. Bitcoin obviously dipped slightly by about 0.1%, but held steady around 95,000, which I think this is kind of already, investors might already price this in, especially knowing that the Greenland tariff situation beforehand. So not too huge of a adjustment towards the Bitcoin price. But we shall see how it all affects when market opens on Monday. I'm just more concerned about the ETF selling off again, because these are probably very, very new investors, retail investors into Bitcoin through an ETF. So we shall see. And which, by the way, I think there are also announcements from the White House that says they are they have high confidence basically that Supreme Court will rule in favor of President Trump's tariffs, right? So this is why, also Trump has been quite aggressive in adding more tariffs for the Europe. Okay, let's move on to other interesting news section. Okay. White House says U.S. Bitcoin reserve is still a priority, but obscure laws are slowing it down. Okay. I think this was one of the very, very key important reasons that Bitcoin pumped during the period when Trump was inaugurated, before he became the president, right? Because everyone was expecting that Trump was the pro Bitcoin and crypto president. And it has been like how many? Almost 2 years. Almost 2 years, guys. And we still haven't set up the Bitcoin strategic reserve. I think this has been a huge disappointment for everyone, to be honest. So I think with such a news, it's probably another nothing burger, especially for Bitcoin investor, because this seemed to be like we have been lied to, and essentially nothing happens. And this is kind of like an ongoing, I can't say scam, but ongoing deceives onto onto a lot of investors still holding onto their Bitcoin, right? But anyway, let's not let me cause any FUD on this news. This is indeed a positive news, but I don't think it will have much of a Bitcoin price action. It's a longer term bullish, right? But longer term bullish, I won't treat it as any more bullishness until until that strategic reserve has been set up. Okay, so a bit of background: President Trump promised a strategic reserve, Bitcoin strategic reserve, during his campaign, right? Treating BTC like gold or oil as national asset, right? That's how he wanted to position Bitcoin. Now the White House confirmed it's still on track. It's still in the agenda, but internally the laws and protocols of the different government departments are causing delays in setting this up. So this means they're working through bureaucracy to make it happen, and they haven't abandoned the whole idea. Okay, so I think it's always good for someone to come out to reiterate this. But to be honest, I wouldn't treat this as a set in stone, because I think this will take many more long years, right? So knowing that a US Bitcoin reserve would be huge validation, potentially buying billions in Bitcoin, signaling to other countries, right? And of course, with such, it can also stabilize price and attract more institutional money into the Bitcoin. So I think longer term, it should all be bullish. But for now, at announcement, January the 18th, no immediate pump or dump for Bitcoin. But I think overall sentiment did improve. Yeah, so I think we'll just have to see how far it get pushed along. I think that's it, guys. That's it for today. A very short update. Overall, past 24 hours, Bitcoin down small to about 95,000 or 94 high-ish $1,000. And it still remain holding key supporting line with neutral sentiment. I'm hoping this consolidation phase will lead to a breakout. But just look at the price. We'll need to make sure that we continue to close above that key support, which is around 95,300 to about 95,000. So we don't break down below 95,300, we should be okay. Yeah, so watch out for Monday open. I think some of the key data coming out, especially I think Monday we'll see how Wall Street and a lot of other European stocks take on the Trump's tariffs, that 10 to 25% tariffs. So we'll see. That's it today, guys. Let me know in the comment section if you're a new subscriber and where you guys are watching from, and I will see you the next video. So drop a like and hit subscribe. Thanks, guys. Bye.